Hey guys, Schway here, aka JR. We're still figuring out what I'm going by in this one. A lot of people may know me from me streaming as Schway, and then other people know me from either music or random life stuff as JR. Either way, it works fine with me. We are episode 1 of the brand new podcast I've been putting together for a while. You haven't seen what? And basically, I came up with this because I got tired of people asking me if I had seen Ted Lasso over and over and over again. There's so many parties or, social functions or other times where I meet people and, instead of just talking about life and trying to, figure out more about each other, it seems commonplace for people to bond over what movies and TV shows they've watched. So, I got tired of people yelling at me for not having seen various TV shows or movies. It's gotten to the point now where I won't even respond just because, it's more content for the podcast. So basically, I will be having a new guest on. Hopefully, we can do every week. I'm going to try out at least 2 a month. I don't want to over promise. Also getting guests is a new thing. So I have to make sure I have enough content to release it weekly if that's something we do. But I'll have a guest on. They bring a list of 10 movies. The theme can be whatever theme they like. Originally, I was going to do uh, people's 10 favorite movies. The problem is that I noticed is a lot of people get very they end up taking a lot longer to make a list of what they perceive to be their 10 favorite movies. So instead of doing that, I've switched it to 10 movies that people, 10 movies, and it can be any list that people want to make. So if they want to do horror, if they want to do anything like that, they're more than welcome to. So for the very first episode, I got my guy, the Piazza Guy from Whatnot. He wanted to use his screen name instead of his regular name, which is fine. So we had Piazza on. He gave me a list, and we ended up doing Bloodsport as the first episode. If you can hear that cop car, I'm sorry. I live in the city. Will I record this? I'll listen and see, but most likely not. We ended up doing Bloodsport, a film I had never seen. I give my rationale about why I never watched it. He yells at me a bit. We take a commercial break, come back after we watch the film and talk about it. So I really hope that you guys like this new premise I'm doing. For everyone who listened to my wrestling podcast, the No Shway Out podcast, I'm still going to work on that here and there, but I'm going to try to devote more of my time to this just because, I don't know, I've been definitely feeling very energetic and very hype about the possibility of this podcast. So I hope you guys really enjoy. If you can, like and subscribe and let me know what you think. And tell a friend or two if you don't mind. Help support the old Shway Nostalgia small business. So without further ado, here is episode 1. Dude, Forrest Whitaker's in this for some reason.
Yeah.
Like
Very young Forrest Whitaker.
very young Forrest Whitaker. This is gonna sound really mean, but his eyes are almost like normal there.
Yes.
I don't know what happened since, but like his eyes were more normal at that point.
All I know is green, but a cabbage. I might hit the scene with a bad bitch. Becky Tommy jeans on my dash. Yo, bitch, she a fiend, she an addict. All I know is green, but a cabbage. I might kill the scene like I'm acting. While I'm with the team like I'm maverick. If she want the D, she can have it. Hey guys, this is the first attempt of my brand new podcast. You haven't seen what? I am Schway. I don't know if I'm going by Schway or JR in this, but we're going by something. I am here with my very first guest. I would like to welcome you to my good friend, the Piazza Guy. Piazza, how you doing, brother?
What's up, my brother?
Hey, you must be feeling pretty good. The first guest, I don't see Ralph on here. It's all I'm saying, Piazza. You're number one in our
Great to
hearts.
have the honor.
Yeah. So for those who don't know the premise yet, which is everyone, since I literally just started this podcast, I'm going to be bringing on guests. They're going to give me a list of 10 movies. Originally, I was thinking it could be their 10 favorite movies or 10 movies that they feel like everyone should watch. But I'm just going to start being like, give me a list of 10. Let me know what the list of 10 is, and then we can go from there. So Piazza sent me his list of 10. Now, Piazza, what would you describe this list as? As 10 movies that are your favorite, 10 movies that you feel like everyone should watch, or what was the theme you were going with here?
Um, some are favorites, some are like childhood movies that you know I just brought. I always watch them, even in my elder years. But just solid movies that if they were on streaming and or it came on the TV, I'm gonna watch them.
Yeah, I think everyone has a couple of those movies where it comes on, and no matter what part of the movie, you're just like, screw it, I don't got that much to do.
Yeah,
So, and I can tell a lot of these movies seem like good ones to pass along to the young Piazzas out there too. These are some classic movies. So I am going to read out Piazza's list of 10, and then I will tell you the movie that I will be watching today. You're welcome to watch too, Piazza. You've already seen it, but we will list the 10 movies. I was surprised there was only, let me double check, 3 movies I hadn't seen on your list. A couple I haven't seen in a while, but 3 movies I haven't seen on your list. And I think you're going to be very disappointed in me, Piazza. I'm not going to tell you all 3. You already know one of them, but I don't feel like it would be fair to do that since you already know that I haven't seen that movie. So the 10 movies Piazza chose for people at home, and I will be choosing one of these to watch and give my opinion on today. Empire Records, Mallrats, Clerks, Bloodsport, The Sandlot, Rookie of the Year, Breakfast Club, 10 Things I Hate About You, Step Brothers, Love and Monsters, and Idiocracy. So once we get offline, Piazza, I'll tell you the 3 I haven't seen. You already know one of them.
okay.
But the movie I chose for us, or at least me, to watch today, because I feel like you'll be the most disappointed that I have not seen this movie, is the classic film Bloodsport.
Really?
I have never seen all of Bloodsport. I've seen very small pieces here and there when it was like, I think my dad had HBO as a kid or something, so I'd randomly see like partial clips, but most of my action movie watching was heavily based around people I've been around. So whether it was like my dad was super into like Eddie Murphy and Arnold type stuff, and my former college movie or movie roommate was into Kurt Russell and Snake Plissken and all that. But I've never seen all of Bloodsport.
Well, my father was a big fan of action movies, so um, me and my brother would get to watch them with him, whether it be Steven Seagal or Arnold or Jean-Claude Van Damme. Um, we actually weren't allowed to watch karate movies for a while because once the movie was over, me and my younger brother would attempt to quote unquote karate each other.
That
So,
checks out. That
yeah.
checks out. I mean, that's how my dad at least wasn't too into me watching wrestling as a kid. And I remember my cousin gave me a tombstone pile driver, which thank God he was a safe worker because I could be crippled right now. So, that guy knew how to do it properly and was it tuck the head and all that. So, um, yeah, I've seen, I have not seen the most Jean-Claude movies. I don't think my dad was too into Jean-Claude. Um, I've seen a couple since. My favorite so far that I've seen, and it's partially to do because of Family Guy, but the movie Sudden Death, I thoroughly enjoyed. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that's definitely a movie that could not be made today under any circumstances. Um,
I know I have. I can't pull it up off the top of my head though.
Yeah, it's the one where there's a terrorist event going on at one of the games of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the vice president gets kidnapped at an
Oh,
actual NHL game. Like there's actually the Red Wings versus the Penguins, and I don't think any sports league would want their fans to realize how shitty their security is and how it could be taken over by terrorists so quickly. But Powers Booth was in it, and I really enjoy him. I don't know if you remember him, but
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, he was a great actor. So why did Bloodsport make your list?
It's just like probably one of the very first um, of the '80s karate movies,
Hmm,
the martial arts movies that me and my brother watched, that we were allowed to watch.
that makes sense.
Um, I mean, Steven Seagal's, the American Ninja series, American Kickboxer series, Best of the Best series. We probably watched them all, but Bloodsport's kind of the most solid for me.
That makes sense. As someone who wasn't as I obviously knew who Jean-Claude Van Damme was, but as someone who's never really seen his too much of his work, off the top of my head, it's tough because I don't want to go into too many movies I haven't seen just because, that's future content. But the two Jean-Claude movies that I've seen definitively, that I can remember, I'm sure there's more, but Sudden Death, like I mentioned, which I believe is the origin of the Family Guy chicken fight, I believe, is Sudden Death because there's a famous
Really?
scene with Jean-Claude Van Damme fighting the Pittsburgh Penguin mascot because there's a terrorist inside the mascot costume, which is one of the funniest fight scenes I've ever seen. But that and then the hit movie Double Team with Dennis Rodman. I saw that
Oh, okay.
many moons ago, many moons ago. And I think it's one of those things where it's just like, as a kid, I was just so heavily influenced by like my parents, in particular my dad, when it came to action movies and stuff like that, that I kind of viewed a lot of stuff that wasn't Arnold or Beverly Hills Cop or anything like that, and was just like, oh, this is kind of like a B tier movie in comparison to an Arnold movie, without actually giving it a fair shake you know. I also didn't get to watch as much like martial arts type movies when I was a kid either for some reason. I don't know what that's about in hindsight, but it's just it seems like I never really got to watch too many of them as a kid was probably the main reason. But it was one of those movies I'd always see at Blockbuster and see the cover and I was like, "Oh, that looks fun." There's always those movies that you see and you're like, you go at Blockbuster, you see the cover, and it's just like you're slightly too young, so your parents won't let you get away with renting it.
Yeah, and I think the reason we were allowed to maybe watch these was because there was no or very little sexual content. It was pretty much just all action and violence.
Yeah, so your
If that
parents
makes
are cool with blood, not sex.
yeah, basically.
Okay, so take out that one movie with what was it? The girl from the Cosby Show who had a blood orgy. I'm trying to remember the one who was married to Lenny Kravitz.
I had no idea.
Yeah, she had a movie. I'd never seen it, but I remember them talking about it. How Lisa Monet, there you go. She had a movie where it was just like a blood orgy scene. And
Oh,
people were like, yeah, it ended her career pretty quickly. For the record, I have no idea what the movie's called, and I have not seen it. So don't rush to call me a perv. I'm just giving information for background. Um, okay, so yeah, I remember there's that one guy in it too who I believe is like the main competitor. I was about to say Rob Van Dam, but Jean-Claude Van Damme, his competitor, there was the big, super yoked up Asian dude. I'm trying to remember his name. Um,
uh, in
but
the movie, or
in the movie, yeah, in Bloodsport, who's kind of like the main villain, right? I
well, he
remember
was.
seeing, huh?
I think he went by in real life. He went by Bolo or
Yeah, he had some interesting name that just was not in the normal uh quick Rolodex of names. I remember
yeah,
his name, and I
but
think he's been in a couple other things too. Um,
his name in the movie is I think it's Chung Lee.
really, Chumley,
No,
Chunley.
It's either Chung or Chong.
Okay.
Chong, Chung.
I was about to say, shout out Chun Li. It's like, and then you're like Chun Li, and I'm like Street Fighter, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
pretty close to the Street Fighter name.
okay. Yeah, I just remember him looking like pretty yoked and being like, all right, and I've seen a lot of highlights of the fight scenes, and it looks very they look very intense. It definitely always Jean-Claude movies in general, and a lot of these action movies, obviously, but Jean-Claude and guys like Jackie Chan who do a lot of their own stunts. It always struck me as movies. Actually, now that I remember it, I saw Universal Soldier 1 and 2 as well. Um,
Oh, great movies.
yeah. Oh,
Not
yeah, with
not really
Goldberg in the
friendly.
second and Dolph. Pretty absurd. But Jean-Claude movies, not to say that Arnold movies or Martin Scorsese films, but Jean-Claude movies seem somehow even less about the story and just more about the action since he did all his own stunts, was kind of the vibe I got.
That could be fair.
Yeah. So
He did
it's
quite a
not,
few tournament movies.
yeah, I've seen a lot of people talk about Bloodsport. That's the reason I chose that over the other movie that I haven't seen, which we'll have to do a future episode about it at some point, Piazza. But for the folks at home, one of the other, because there was three movies on his list I hadn't seen. One of the other ones was Empire Records, and I only bring that up because normally I won't divulge information like that. But you should have heard how disappointed Piazza was in me for never seeing Empire Records. I wish I could have recorded that on the podcast, just hearing how immensely disappointed he was. I can't,
Immensely disappointed. I don't know about that, but
you seemed pretty disappointed on the phone when you were like, what was
I
shoot,
would say surprised.
surprised, yeah. I don't know. I felt like when you're a kid and you say something to a parent, they're like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I thought I raised you better. It was one of those vibes. Like I thought that you were better adjusted, Shway. Obviously that was not the case. So yeah, I just felt like Bloodsport. I've seen so many people, especially as fans of wrestling like us. I've seen a lot of my people I've met through, selling cards who are into wrestling, stuff like that, who always talk about how great Bloodsport is. I think I actually saw you and Johnny talking about it in a stream one time too. I was
Oh,
like, yeah, this
who knows?
seems like a good choice for episode number one.
It's it's going to start off slow, but hang in there.
Oh yeah, well, most of these types of movies kind of start. I think that was probably the issue is I think I might have started it at one point, and sometimes I'm just slightly too ADD for my own good.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things where I'm like, this is slow, and then I just like, turn it off. I don't know. I feel bad. Movies nowadays have become so quick with the edits. I blame Fast and Furious and stuff like that. So quick with the edits, the actions, all this stuff. A lot of people, once it doesn't move very quickly right away, just, turn it off and keep it moving to something else, especially with like action movies like John Wick now, where it's just literally you start it and he just starts shooting people right away. Like you
yeah.
don't even get a breath. It's
Actually,
just instantaneous violence.
I showed my son Bloodsport this year.
Oh
Um,
yeah. So what was the mini Piazza equivalent without any spoilers? What did they say about this film?
so of course it starts out slow. Okay,
Right.
so right before it gets good, it's like, Dad, can we watch the rest tomorrow? I'm like, but it's about to get good. And so we had like a day one, day two kind of thing.
Oh
But
man.
in summation, um, I was like, what do you think? He's like, it was okay. And I'm like, this childhood or adolescent age when I watched this, and I fell in love with it, and I
Right.
still love it.
Right.
And he's just like, it's okay. you know, it's a little soul crushing,
Oh
but
yeah,
but
it
I can
is.
understand.
I mean it makes sense though, because it's like he's how old for context, how old's your son for people in the
He's
Potterverse?
12.
12. So, for someone like him who's so used to watching I don't know how much screen time you let the kids have, or as my mom would say, the kinda have. But it's just nowadays everything, like I kind of mentioned with John Wick and Fast and Furious and all these movies, is everything's like so fast and to the point. Like there's
Yeah.
not really as much room for developing story or plot or anything like that. Um, certain movies from my childhood now, well, not child, even before that, like, one of the movies I grew up watching all the time, like you were talking about, one of those movies you could just put on and watch at any point is Commando, you know, and I love that movie. I don't know why. It's pretty corny at times. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's very cliche a lot of times, and there's a lot of times you can see how bad the special effects are. Like, this guy gets his arm cut off, and they cut to it when he's about to get his arm cut off, and it's blatantly a fake limb. But at the time when I was a kid, I was like, "This is amazing,"
Yeah.
and it's just showing it to someone who's like around your son's age now, it'd probably just be like too slow and too absurd.
Yeah, and most of the stuff today is digital effects. You didn't have the
Oh, so much better. Yeah.
the practical effects of you know the 70s, 80s, early 90s. Where everything they could just put a green sleeve on and make something happen.
Oh, definitely. I personally, I kind of grade on a curve when it comes to in particular like sci-fi movies and
Yeah,
movies that have heavy effects from the 90s and before, even sometimes early 2000s, because some of the effects are not the best. We're not going to lie here. They're pretty bad. But in the context of when they were made, it was definitely good for the time. And I kind of give, especially with sci-fi stuff, I give people extra points for at least like attempting to do something that they didn't really have the means to do for the time. Like, you look at Total Recall and some of those types of movies with Arnold, and like, the effects, if you brought them out now, it'd look absurd. But at the time, it was really groundbreaking stuff, and I give them credits for at least trying. It may not be the best, but a lot of these sci-fi movies, I'd rather them take the chance of making it versus
yeah,
not taking those artistic chances just because, well, it doesn't look quite right. It's like, well, it's 1984. This is the best we got.
yeah. Who had seen a woman with three breasts before Total Recall?
That was groundbreaking at the time, man. Like I've seen many of people online being like, damn, I wish I could date a woman like her. And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's a lot of, if they have that problem, they might have like, three kidneys or be missing various shit, which, maybe if they had a third kidney, they could bless my boy out here.
Yeah, amen. Right.
Yeah. um, so any last thoughts on Bloodsport? And then we can take a quick break right after and then come back after. I'm at least going to watch the film. You're welcome to watch the film as well. I'm going to take some note skis. I'm going to talk about whether or not I'm sad or happy I haven't seen it, or just any thoughts on the film at all. So, any last parting thoughts about this film, why you chose it, why it means a lot to you, anything like that?
No, I think it's going to speak for itself. I just hope you come out of this with an appreciation for the dim mak and
The what?
the dim mak.
Okay, I guess I'm going to find out what that is.
Oh, you will find out what that is, sir.
I mean, so you said you watched it recently. Like, did you feel like it held up when you rewatched it?
Parts of it.
Parts of it, yeah. Because this came out what, 80s? Early
88,
80s? 88.
1988.
Okay. Year my brother was born. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm very excited to watch it. For those at home, if you would like, you can go watch it now too. I thought I saw it was streaming on Prime Video. So I'm gonna go watch on the Prime Video, which I'm not a affiliated sponsor, so I get nothing out of saying that. Um, I'll go watch it, and then Piazza, I'll hit you after, and hopefully you're not busy with family stuff, and we can do the second half of the pod. Sound good to you?
Sounds good, brother.
All right, thank you, sir. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my brand new podcast. You haven't seen what? Sorry, I'm trying to do a little more emphasis on that. If you like the pod, guys, please like and subscribe. Make sure to follow Schway Nostalgia on all platforms. It really does help. And like I said, you know, if you could do me a solid, share this on your social media, share to a friend, tag someone, like the page, like the podcast. I know a lot of people are like, Schway, you know, I have like 6 followers. It's not really going to matter. Everyone matters, guys. It really does help. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. If you end up liking the podcast, let me know. If there's anything we can do to make it better, let me know. Thanks for checking it out, guys.
Hey, this is Ralph from Sports Cards and More. Make sure you check out my buddy's new podcast, You Haven't Seen What? And here's something I haven't seen lately. People with money in my rooms. Got a bunch of cheap fucks. Well, enjoy the show.
Hey guys, Schway here. Another great way to support me if you haven't already. Make sure to download the app Whatnot and follow Schway Nostalgia on Whatnot. I stream on there a lot. We sell wrestling cards, we sell vintage memorabilia, collectibles, toys, all that jazz. Lots of cool, fun stuff from the 90s. Basically, my basement looks like Toys R Us in 96. So make sure to check us out. Also, if you'd love to see some of my action figure, toy, collectible inventory, or you'd like to buy a Schway Nostalgia shirt, go check out schwaynostalgia.com. Make sure to check it out, guys. I'd really appreciate it. Anything helps. Like I said, share, like, subscribe, cop a t-shirt, you know, show off a sticker, tell your friends, guys. Like I said, everything helps, and we're trying to do our best for y'all. So appreciate y'all listening, and thanks for supporting. All right, so we are officially back. Piazza. This is the super spoiler part of the podcast. So if you haven't seen Bloodsport and you care about not getting it spoiled, I would pause right now and go watch it. Or if you don't give a fuck and just want to listen, you're welcome to. Or if you don't like the podcast, you can turn it off. I'd prefer not that part, but you know, you have a choice. So it's understandable. All right, Piazza. I put up some notes, something low-key. If I had more time, I would have researched a tad more, but since this is our first go doing this type of pod, I am just going to give my thoughts and we'll see how it goes, okay?
All right.
All right, first of all, let's get it out of the way. Bloodsport's a banger. I thoroughly enjoyed it for what it is, you know. If you're looking for a Martin Scorsese movie, this is not the movie for you. If you're looking for in-depth story structure and blah, 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 this might not be the movie for you. But if you like a movie that kicks ass and gets to the point about it, this might be a movie for you. I thought it was funny how you said your kid got bored. And I'm like, it didn't seem like the buildup towards the tournament was actually that long. So like, I'm curious how quickly he tapped out, you know? Soundtrack was amazing. So 80s, so awesome. So like, there's something about a good 80s soundtrack, especially like songs they picked during the montage or like the love-esque scenes, you know, where it gets a little saxy and jazzy, like cool jazz. You just imagine Bill Clinton with the saxophone and like the sunglasses vibe going on. Definitely heavily enjoyed the soundtrack.
Fight to Survive is a banger.
Which one?
Fight to Survive.
Fight to Survive. I literally wrote in my notes, Fight to Survive, a banging song. The On My Own song was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was a song he had about being on his own, which was so corny, but it worked somehow. Great use of montages. You know, you can't have a good action movie without at least one montage, and they had several.
And distinguished by the blurred edges of the scene.
Oh, I didn't even notice they did the blurred edges. Interesting. I might have to rewatch and peep that. I was so lost in the montage. And you know, that whole story of how he even learned about like fighting and stuff was pretty absurd. Also, like, he had his master, you know, the guy he tried to rob, who then decided to take him on as a pupil, which is a fascinating go ahead. And the master has a kid who dies. They don't really explain how the kid dies at all. You just see a picture up, so you know he's dead.
Yeah.
And you see the master is very upset about it, but they never explain why. And then out of left field, the dude is just like, yeah, my second family's gone. So you don't even know he had a first family. He's like, yeah, now my second family's gone. My first family died in Hiroshima. And you're like, sweet Jesus, where the fuck did this go? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, you had no idea any of that type of stuff happened. They just put it in as such like a random throwaway line. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just like, that doesn't
Well,
really add to the
so,
story.
but before that, we get like 3 timelines of Frank Dukes,
Yes.
and 2 of them are played by JCVD.
Real quick,
One,
guys. Frank Dukes is Jean-Claude Van Damme for those who haven't watched the thing yet. He's the main character in the movie, Frank Dukes.
but
So go ahead. Sorry.
it's differentiated between slightly curly hair and slightly straighter hair, and that's the only difference that differentiates those. But the young Frank Dukes looks nothing like them,
Yeah, I was about to say he literally looks nothing like Jean-Claude Van Damme at all.
and
And
I had to figure out who he reminded me of. If anything, it's a young Mike D from the Beastie Boys.
I could see that probably because he's wearing all that like New York gear and stuff. You know, the they had him
Well,
wearing like New York Giants stuff from the 80s, and I was like, damn, that hat and jacket are kind of hard. You know, I was like, it's kind of
yeah,
cool.
the hat was a Giants hat, but for the
Yeah,
San Francisco
San
Giants.
Francisco. And then I thought he had a football team for like his shirt.
Yeah, he has a New York Giants like shirt on.
Okay. Man loves the Giants no matter where they are. Must be a fan of Andre.
Yeah.
Um, so you also notice quickly, I was kind of teetering with this, but like the one thing I loved about old kung fu movies and stuff like that, that they kind of touch on this is the fact that it's dubbed, or at least
Yeah.
it seems dubbed at times. It comes out more apparent, like when Jean-Claude's talking, it's not as apparent, but like when the child who looks nothing like Jean-Claude, who's playing Jean-Claude, is there, it's pretty apparent that they are dubbing, and especially when his master's speaking to him, it definitely has that dubby type feel, which, to be honest, there's something about it that just adds little, I don't want to know if I say it's charm is the right word, but it adds something to the movie. I feel like whenever you see a movie with characters who are dubbed, I think it adds something, you know?
Well, the kid's only line in the movie is like he gets beat up, and then he
Yeah.
says, "I want to make my dad proud in the Kumite one day," and that's it. That's all he gets.
Right. Right. Which they never really even establish why the Kumite is even important.
Yeah.
There's no scene where they're like, the Kumite is important because of the rich tradition of fighting, or you get money or whatever. I don't even know if they make any money for doing it. Like, they don't really explain why these guys are spending all this money to train, fly there, and do all this stuff to fight in the Kumite, and they won't even say what the Kumite. The only thing you really know about this fighting tournament called the Kumite is it's in Hong Kong. It's hidden for some reason. They don't want people to know about it for some reason. And they're
It's like
they're
the premier
the,
event.
what's up?
It's like the premier event. It's
It's
like
the premier event, but
the WrestleMania of underground karate fighting tournaments.
right. So all I can really get is they like honor, but then they also have a scoreboard where the bad guy Chong Li ends up beating a guy in record time, and it's not an electric scoreboard. So all of a sudden, these two guys put up signs that said, "Oh my God, he beat him in 14.6 seconds." It's like, bro, how'd you make those signs so quickly? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
this isn't an electric scoreboard, bro. Like, there's no way that y'all could decipher the information. It only took 14.6 seconds for him to win and write up the things and post it on the scoreboard. It's just interesting.
Then they had to make another one.
Yeah, then they have to make another one for Jean-Claude, who instantaneously beats it. One like random thing I had is that seeing them in Hong Kong really made me miss being in Hong Kong when I visited, man. I will say, like, I went before the Chinese government took it over again. In the sense, like, I don't know if you saw in the last couple of years, they've like started to make it communist, because before it was like kind of, it was part of China, but it was its own thing, and they just like took it over. So seeing it like that, I was like, man, like, I really would like to go back. I don't know if it would be the same.
It is one of the only movies that actually had scenes from inside Kowloon, which is the walled city or whatever.
Oh, okay. The walled city. Are you talking
Yeah,
about the Forbidden City or is that different? Because the
I don't know.
Forbidden City is in Beijing, so I'll have to
That's
look that up. I'm not too
yeah.
hip. I thought it was funny going back to, the kid scenes at the beginning with the master, his son, and young Jean-Claude. And the kid calls Jean-Claude, he's like, "Why are you spending all this time with this round eye?" Which I was just like, bro, that I started cracking up. Also a really interesting scene was his I like the badass montage scene when Jean-Claude was older, and he's training with the master and the dude just starts like beating the shit out of him with a stick and doing all this wild like rope torture on him. Like in any other context that's torture, but for Jean-Claude who's so strong with his legs that it doesn't bother him. And it ends up coming, those rope things he did with his master came into play later on, you know.
Yeah, everything was, every main training had a point
Oh
with
yeah,
him
definitely.
being blindfolded at the dinner table to him catching the fish to him doing the ropes and the splits and
Mm.
everything.
Oh, dude, that's one thing. The whole movie, if you didn't know Jean-Claude Van Damme could do the splits, by the end of that movie, you will thoroughly know that he can do the splits, which I wasn't going to talk about this yet, but one of the most absurd but badass in the entire movie,
I know where you're
absurd
going.
scenes, but badass, was him just on top of this rooftop where you can see all of Hong Kong from the rooftop, and it's like some shrine on top of this huge building, and he's just doing the splits like 100 feet in the air. Dude, I had enough trouble. I went to the top of this bar when I was in Thailand that was 100 floors up, and I was on the roof, and I couldn't do it. Like it was freaking me out. But this man's doing the fucking splits on the top of the roof with like, if he falls forward, he could fall off the damn building. And he's doing it like it's nothing. And I'm like, bro, I can't even just chill and have a drink up there. This man's doing the fucking splits. So more proof we're not as cool as Jean-Claude Van Damme. Um, I like the fact that that dude Jackson in the movie is the guy who plays Ogre in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, Randy Jackson,
His
not
name's
the
Randy.
American. Yeah,
I
Randy
did
Jackson.
I didn't even get his first name. They kept calling him Jackson. I forgot. I didn't
Yeah,
notice his name was Randy. It's just he comes in, he's very douchey, and I'm like, oh man, this is literally the same thing as Revenge of the Nerds, except in Revenge of the Nerds, he has like some sort of brain damage or something too, you know. Because every time I just think of Revenge of the Nerds, it's just that guy Ogre, aka Jackson from this movie, just yelling nerds.
yeah.
So it was funny seeing him in there. I'm trying to see. Oh yeah, dude, Forrest Whitaker's in this for some reason.
A
Like
very young Forrest Whitaker.
very young Forrest Whitaker. Um, this is gonna sound really mean, but his eyes are almost like normal there. You know, I,
Yes.
I don't know what happened since, but like his eyes were more normal at that point. Not a lot of time for him to shine in the movie. It was like he was a cop or some sort of international federal agent for the US government trying to bring Jean-Claude
Yeah.
back. It was like him and this older white dude, and the older white dude had like all the talking parts, which, in hindsight, they probably would have switched it, but it was just interesting how, they have all these other storylines like that and the love story, which to be honest, you could have taken the love story out of the whole thing and it wouldn't have made a difference. I feel like the love story was literally just used so that they would have an excuse to show Jean-Claude Van Damme's ass and show how muscular he was. Like besides that, the love story really added like nothing to the story at
Yeah.
all. And the fact that him and that other guy got into a fight about the girl and they were like, "Oh, well," she's like, "I don't want to be with you." It's like, "Well, if I can take that quarter out of your hand, then I get to have the girl. If not, you get to." And it's like, and then she just goes on a date with the dude after, and it's like, bro, like he literally thought you were a prize he could win. Like he treated you like you were an object, and you're just like, oh, this guy's hot. It just shows that like standards only matter when you're ugly. You know what I mean? When you're as hot as Jean-Claude Van Damme, you can get away with whatever, and she's just cool with it. If I pulled that shit, she would have slapped me in the face and called me a sexist asshole. I'm just saying.
Well, women in action movies don't always make the best choice.
That
You
is
know,
true. Well, you say that,
Same
but what was it? Ray Don Chong in Commando made a great choice by sticking with Arnold, you know?
well, said not always.
Not always. Yeah, that was one of my notes was like forced love story wins her for a quarter. Corny. That's literally what I wrote. Um,
Yeah.
One thing I don't get, right? Jean-Claude's supposed to be the good guy, and during his various fighting montages at the Kumite, he's fighting this one super. It's not Chong Li. There's another dude who's like super strong, who's just beating everyone up. They never gave his name, but
Like
he's
the
a pretty.
Samoa dude with the kind of skirt thing.
He is kind of like a skirt thing. His legs are pretty like exposed. He's like a
Yeah,
humongous, super strong Asian guy,
right.
and Jean-Claude's like fighting him. He's doing okay, but not doing much. And then Jean-Claude, who's supposed to be the hero of this movie, he's supposed to be someone we can look up to, goes against the number one bro code, which is you don't hit people in the fucking dick. This man comes up and punches the dude square in the nuts during the fight, and no one says anything. And everyone's just like, oh, that's cool. And it's like, what? Like,
Hey, man.
what are that makes me even more like, what are they fighting for? If it's not honor, it's not money, you know,
It's
because
full
it's supposed to,
contact, man.
I guess, I mean, if it's supposed to be something that's like, you know, about honor, there's no
But
honor in punching a guy in the dick, bro. You know, like
what you're missing is the artistry of this dick punch.
the artistry.
You know,
Yeah.
the guy's running
I
out
missed the
of
corners like you were talking about, the frayed corners or whatever, the
uh,
montage.
just drop down full split and then just uppercut straight to the choke. Just four knuckles straight on tank. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude, he literally just went in and just was like, "Ah," like every time he's fighting, he's doing the type thing where he's moving around, like his head's kind of shaking side to side, and he just like punches dude in the nuts, and then you know Chong Li ends up beating his all of a sudden best friend, who he says at the movie he loves, which he met this guy like 4 days ago,
yeah.
like 4 days, a week max, and he's like, "I love you, bro." It's like, come on, dude, y'all just met. You know, it's a little strong. And I love how, you know, with Jackson, they establish he's American because it's like, I'm wearing a Harley Davidson shirt. I'm chugging beer. I'm an asshole until you get to know me. You know, it's just like, it's one of those things where, you know, when you watch old Jackie Chan movies that are made in like Hong Kong and you see like Westerners portrayed in them, they're always just like really dumb type characters, you know, who are just like very meatheady type guys, you know, so it seemed very cliche into that. The other
But
thing too, I'll go ahead, Piazza.
one, one more thing about Randy Jackson.
Yeah.
Um, he's not just American. He's a Texan,
Oh, I didn't even peep he was Texan.
which is evident by his fight with Chung Lee, where he knocks him down and just starts chanting Texas with his arms going over his head. Texas, Texas.
How
And
did I
then,
miss that? How did I miss that, dude? I must have been paying attention to Morty, but
yeah, but
it,
then Bolo comes back and, you know,
oh, gave him the work, man, with the quickness,
yeah,
which I thought I did like the fact with Chong Li, they didn't have him talk until the last 15 minutes of the movie, which I thought was kind of cool. It kind of gave me almost like wrestling vibes in the sense that it's like he didn't have to give away too much until the end.
yeah. He did have one line at the check-in.
Chong Li did?
Yes.
I don't even see it. Look
In
at that.
which
He's already correcting me.
he said, brick, no hit back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that okay. I was actually meaning to say I forgot to. I'm like going through all my notes, guys. Sorry, it's a little scattered here. I'm kind of going all over the place.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like that whole touch of death thing, they're like, does he know the touch of death?
The death.
And to destroy a blick, do they even like maybe you saw it? I didn't notice they ever brought up the touch of death shit again. Like You know, I know that Jackson tried to like do it and didn't do it right, but it's like it's not like it really came into play in the actual fighting from what I saw.
Well, it was only supposed to be like a thing known by his master or like super high level masters. So
Right.
he had proved that he trained under his Shidoshi um, for them to let him in. And basically, the only way he could prove that he was underneath one of them was by doing this move.
Yeah, I just kind of wish they had something establishing the move with the master or it came into play with one of the fights. You know, Jackson didn't have to do that. So, um, but yeah, the lack of him talking also to me, the wildest part of the movies and the credits, bro.
We're going
You know,
straight to the credits, huh? Okay.
well, okay, so you watch this whole movie, you're going to the end. The ending, I mean, Jean-Claude wins, but then it kind of makes no sense. He goes on the plane like he's going home, and then he waves at the random ass. He like found one of the like 20 white women in Hong Kong at the time or whatever. I don't know, but he randomly finds a white lady there. Heaven forbid he talks to a local woman.
Yeah.
And the movie ends. And then randomly out of left field, it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, this is based off a true story. You're like, what? And it's like, yeah, Frank Dukes is a real person. This is based off a true story. He actually won 300 something fights and blah blah blah. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, why didn't you put this at the freaking beginning of the movie? You're telling me it's based off a true story at the end? Like,
Yep.
and then, you know, when I was talking earlier about wishing I could have done more research, I briefly looked him up. There's a bunch of people who question the validity of a lot of the stuff he's saying, talking about how he's lying. I think some guy wrote a book about him called like Stolen Valor or something, which by the way, anytime I bring up Stolen Valor, I gotta shout out my good friend Nine Sofly, who did not steal her valor, but you know, she besides serving in our armed forces, she also collects some people who have stolen valor in WWE for cards and stuff, but that's another story. Um, it's just like the fact they just randomly throw in it's based off a true story is just like so random to throw in at the end.
But as a kid, we thought Frank Dukes was the coolest guy in the world.
Oh, I bet, dude.
You
I
know?
looked him up. Apparently, him and Jean-Claude actually got in a lawsuit years later when they tried to make another movie. Um,
And
because I
there's a whole, um, excuse me, story of Frank Dukes versus Steven Seagal, who both had North Hollywood dojos, and they were basically sworn enemies. You can't make this up.
yeah, I was about to say, I'm like Jean-Claude. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Steven Seagal's pretty absurd, man.
yeah. Steven Seagal and Frank Dukes got beef.
Did you ever listen to Steven Seagal's music?
No.
He has like a reggae dance hall song.
Oh, jeez.
It's really bad talking about how he wants the punani. It's really bad, bro. Yeah,
Jeez.
it's pretty it's no party all the time by Eddie Murphy, I'll tell you that much. Um yeah, so I definitely got to do more Wikipedia research on Frank Dukes because a lot of people were like disputing everything he says as well as like the Kumite if that's even like a real thing or like what
Well,
he said it was because he claimed that he was like won 300 something fights, which just seems like pretty absurd, man.
and he said it supposedly takes place in the Bahamas, but the movie is shot in Hong Kong or takes
Yeah,
place in Hong Kong.
I don't know enough about the Bahamas. On my little knowledge of the Bahamas, it seems like it would make more sense to do it in Hong Kong, but like I know nothing about any of this. I think also doing a movie like this in the Bahamas wouldn't have the serious nature that being in, you know, China/Hong Kong would, just like back in the day doing stuff that's in like Moscow adds a little extra, you know, intrigue to it all.
So, any thoughts on the individual fighting styles that were
That one
used?
guy who was going around like he was like crab soccer playing or like a dog or whatever was kind of weird, you know. There's like
Okay.
that one dude who's kind of going around on all fours
Yeah.
for a good amount
So
of the time, which is pretty absurd.
that is supposed to be a mix of monkey kung fu and capoeira is what they
Mm,
were going for there. But the dude is it's stereotypical, you know.
yeah.
The
Well,
dude
there's a
is
lot of stereotypes in this movie, guy. Let's be
oh
honest.
yeah, hundreds.
Yeah.
But yeah, they basically made him fight monkey kung fu because of the color of his skin. Um,
I had a feeling that that's what was going on. I didn't want to assume the worst, but I kind of assumed the worst.
and then
Yeah.
you have the guy that's fighting Muay Thai.
Hmm.
I thought that guy was awesome. He did a
Yeah.
great job.
It's funny because
Um,
it reminded me of the whole time he was doing that, it reminded me of I think the guy's name was Sagat from Street Fighter 2. You know,
uh-huh.
I'm talking about Sagat, the guy with
Yeah,
the tall dude with the eye patch.
Tiger.
Yeah, right.
That
Yoga
and
Flame.
then the Samoan guy, um, the one guy that lost to Bolo pretty early on was more of a Brazilian Vale Tudo. Um, I think he just had a lot of karate, kung fu, ninjutsu guys. Um, but it was cool when I was younger just to see those different fighting styles. You know, even if they weren't necessarily real, like the monkey guy. Um, but it was something I had never seen before, other than in Best of the Best. They only do Taekwondo,
Mm.
um, and then American Kickboxer. But I enjoyed all the different fighting styles. It's like the first UFC. Everybody had their own styles.
Makes sense. I mean, it definitely, is slightly more intriguing because they're trying to emphasize how it's like best from around the world. So let's show the
Yeah,
rest of the world. Definitely had some flashbacks to watching like Enter the Dragon with the whole tournament type style.
yeah.
But
Fun fact: Bolo Young was in Enter the Dragon,
okay, that makes sense. I was about to say he looks super familiar.
and
So,
so was uh, Frank Deuce's Shidoshi, the
mm,
Master. He
yeah.
was also in Enter the Dragon,
Well, I
which
think I might be worth a rewatch at some point then.
in which Bruce Lee said, "Boards no hit back."
Mm. Little Easter egg there. It was funny
Yeah,
looking it up too, because apparently they said about to say I keep almost saying Rob Van Dam. They said Jean-Claude only made like 25K off the whole movie.
yeah, and it was one of his like very first movies. Um,
Definitely his first big movie.
yes, I think I'm trying to remember the one before that, but it's not coming to me.
Yeah,
But I
because
think he
like what
might have
was
had
it?
one.
Kickboxer came soon after that.
Yeah, I think that
Also,
was,
looking it up, they were talking about how because you just I was just Googling some stuff quickly before we got on. They're saying his career ended up going downhill eventually because he had and this according to uh Wikipedia, Google, so I'll use the word allegedly. He allegedly had a $10,000 a week coke habit. So
oh, okay.
yeah, that seems like either a lot of coke or he's getting ripped off. You know, one of the two. Either way, it's not good. You know, definitely should have had a coke accountant. Might have helped a bit. Keep the coke budget under wraps. Um,
The
well,
what the final fight? Um,
yeah, maybe I missed that, but why was the mat where they were fighting all of a sudden it was just like broken in half?
that is the final match. The sides get elevated for some reason,
Mm,
and if you look in the training montage, um, when he's younger, they train on a elevated mat in the same shape.
mm, okay. And did you know that naturally or did you have to look that up?
No, I just after countless times of watching it noticed that.
Ah, okay. Yeah, there's a couple times in the movie I wish they took like an extra like 30 seconds to a minute to explain certain stuff, you know. Um, but that's the thing about these type of action movies. They don't really care. It's more so about just setting up the actual fighting. You know, a lot of the rationale for why they're fighting doesn't even really
If you haven't seen that, I would recommend it.
see what.
They made a Mentos commercial of the chase scene.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. I'll have
Yeah,
to
if I can find it, I'll send it to you.
yeah, please do. I'd be very fascinated by that. Hopefully my internet's doing all right. It said something about a weak connection.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me see. Well, I was gonna say I can give some final thoughts if there's any final thoughts or things that maybe I didn't mention you were curious about.
No, I thought they gave him like the super weird eyes for when he's like uber serious. Um, as a kid, I thought that was pretty cool. As an adult, it's kind of cheesy. Um, where he just goes full wide eyed and his eyes get like real beady looking.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they kind of do that later on where he gets a little more serious. His eyes get wide, his head kind of goes side to side. Ah, you
yeah,
know, that little thing where you're like, oh, he's getting serious. The eyes getting big now and the head shaking. Like he's
yeah.
getting in. Yeah, and it's funny too because they try to emphasize how Chong Li's a bad guy because he throws stuff in Jean-Claude Van Damme's eyes during the final fight. It's like, oh, he's cheating, and now all that blindfold fighting he was doing earlier on in the movie makes sense. But again, when Chong Li throws stuff in his face, it's bad. But when Jean-Claude Van Damme punches people in the dick, it's okay. So
But it's not illegal to punch in the dick.
apparently not. I don't know. I thought that was
But
pretty shitty on his part.
they did also ramp up how much of a bad guy he is right before the last fight by him killing that dude.
Yeah, I.
And he literally kills a guy, and everybody just turns their back, like, "Oh yeah, we didn't see that." He just killed a guy.
Yeah,
We're gonna.
I mean, one of the few plot things I would say besides adding extra to certain stuff to make more sense, like I probably would have had Chong Li kill Jackson instead of some random guy that you have no emotional attachment to. You know, that's one thing where it's like, all right, he killed a guy, but it's a guy who literally has no part in this. You know what I mean? Like I haven't
Yeah.
seen him up until this part, so it's like it's not really that important that he's gone.
Well, I think that was the thing is he was trying to kill Jackson,
Mm.
but they said Jackson's skull was just too thick that it
You got
didn't
that
work.
Texas skull, man. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
bunch of hard headed
Texas.
folks.
Yeah, I'll just start doing that in real life. Just start yelling Texas. What could go wrong?
Who says we
Oh,
don't?
right. Well, overall, I think that, on the scale of everything, in terms of me enjoying it, I'd probably give Bloodsport an 8.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Would I watch it again? I would definitely watch Bloodsport again, especially since Piazza gave me a few nuggets that I didn't even notice the first time. So I think I would definitely watch it again. Um, Glad to have watched it. Kind of sad I haven't watched it before, but to be honest, I never really had friends that were like super like, we need to watch this. So
Yeah.
now I'm excited, and, a whole new world of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies potentially, or maybe I need to save some of those for future episodes.
Okay. And now that you didn't pick Empire Records, you need to go watch that.
Well, no,
Um,
Piazza, we're gonna have to watch that again at another point. It's another episode. You think I'm just gonna give away free content, Piazza? We're not doing that. Well, we are doing free content by giving away this podcast for free. But, we gotta do that, and at some point might actually have to do video for this because the video seems to do better on the YouTube than the blank one. Something to look forward to in the
yeah.
future. But Piazza, now that you were officially the first guest of the of this new podcast, you haven't seen what is the working title. How do you feel?
I am thoroughly glad that you enjoyed the movie.
There you go.
Um, although it might have been more interesting if you hadn't, because
Oh yeah.
I would have to berate you for your lack of appreciation for 80s action movies.
Hey man, all I'm saying is when I did my
Please.
the test run of this on Ready to Rumble, I like trashed Ready to Rumble and dudes were upset, but I was just being honest as much as I like wrestling.
It
Um,
is my go-to quintessential 80s karate movie. Um,
okay.
some people's probably Karate Kid or something like that, but no, Bloodsport is it for me for quintessential 80s karate movie.
I can see that. I thoroughly enjoyed it for a karate type movie. I'd need to rewatch Karate Kid. It's been some years. But I remember being kind of like underwhelmed by the Karate Kid personally.
Oh, you
Uh
get some flack for that.
damn. Sucks I have a different opinion, huh? I'm sorry, that's but yeah, no, I just wanted to thank everyone for listening. Wanted to thank Piazza for coming on and being my first guest, pretty much agreeing to do this with minimal knowledge of what we were actually doing besides me kind of explaining the concept. So
Yeah.
appreciate you hopping on and all the support, brother.
Well, I appreciate the invite, and I look forward to future episodes.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to, I'm debating in the future maybe doing a home and away where maybe next time I give you a list, or next time we might have to just do Empire Records. We'll see.
Okay, well, it's cool.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We'll see where the road takes us. I'm curious to see how this does. So, Piazza, thank you again, sir. And
No
that
problem.
is what we got for episode 1 so far. And there you have it, guys. Episode 1 of You Haven't Seen What? Again, I'm trying to get better at putting the emphasis on that to make it sound, a little bit more sassy and stuff, but we're working on it. Want to thank my guy Piazza again for being my first guest. If you'd like to, follow the guy at the Piazza Guy on all social media. He goes by the Piazza Guy on whatnot too. If you'd like to support his small business, if you'd like to support my small business, I know you've heard this a lot. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Any sharing definitely helps a lot. Make sure to check out SchwayNostalgia.com. Cop a t-shirt. If you buy a t-shirt or even a Schway scented candle, it definitely helps me feed my bulldog Morty, as well as help support my small business. No pressure. And yeah, make sure to check me out on whatnot at Schway Nostalgia. Get ready for episode 2.
She gon' let me stroke, then you can have a bad man. Uncle Noosa greatest, and I'm on your playlist. She said I love it, how you bang it, boy, I can't explain it. Go ahead, buzz it for a real one. Nigga try to come up with $1 million. Nigga looking like a come up when I show up, I might blow up. Your bitch wanna fuck me, but she ugly, I might throw up. All I know is green, but that cabbage. I might hit the scene with a bad bitch. Becky Tommy jeans on my dash shit. Yo bitch, she a fiend, she a addict. All I know is green, but that cabbage. I might kill the scene like I'm acting. Ballin' with the team like I'm maverick. If she want the D, she can have it.
Wait, shorty, come with me, I'm not average. Take a brew, bit banging like a savage. I was in the VIP, pulling up the cabbage until I seen a shorty with a team. I made a draft pick. Took your bitch, tragic. Money flip, fantastic. Yeah, when she come my way, man, she gon' get that action. Do the split on dick, goddamn, do gymnastics. I just love her love while these niggas living past us. I can feel the hate for me, I see it in their actions. All these boys, they sleep on me, but do not own a mattress. I just want the Benji frames, don't need Jacksons. Well, niggas eating good, can't you tell? Smoking on the dick, blunt loud like Adele. Lot of niggas wanna see me fall, see me fail. Fuck, I just run it up and collect by myself.
All I know is green, but that cabbage. I might hit the scene with a bad bitch. Becky Tommy jeans on my dash shit. Yo bitch, she a fiend, she a addict. All I know is green, but that cabbage. I might kill the scene like I'm acting. Ballin' with